In this time of turbulence, this type of escalation of tension and war, this time of despair, degrowth and ecological economics is more important than ever.
Is it possible to secure good lives for everyone within the planet's ecological limits? Can we have economies where well-being and care for people and nature replaces goals of endless economic growth?
There are a lot of pressures from different economic sectors that are trying to make us go back.
At the Ecological Economics and Degrowth Conference in Oslo in June 2025, more than 1,200 researchers, activists and practitioners from 60 different countries gathered to discuss these important questions.
I think that the main barrier is not that we cannot formulate or imagine the alternative, but that there are not enough people on the ground to build them.
We need alternatives that ensure justice and dignity for all, without some being expected to pay a price for some others to continue to enjoy the excesses of their comfortable lives.
To Hannah Arendt, revolution was a radical beginning. It is my dream that when one of the next crises hit, ecological economics and degrowth will have matured enough to be a player in town to start changing things in the real world. Welcome to Oslo. Welcome to ISEE-Degrowth 2025. Have fun.
The first thing I want you to do is to hold out your left hand in a fist. I want you to think of that as the economy. Now I want you to take your other hand and wrap it around the economy. This hand represents the environment, the biosphere, the planet. And the one idea I'd like you to take away from what I have to say is that in ecological economics we understand that the economy is a subsystem of the planet. And it's a very important difference from mainstream economics, which insists on analyzing the economy as if it was a freestanding set of institutions.
First, I'll deal with the inevitable questions around the provocative term degrowth. I ask those of you who think degrowth is off-putting, do you have a problem with demilitarization, with decolonization, deinstitutionalization, dematerialization, or decommodification? Degrowth is all of these processes.
How do we transform our economies from economies that are structurally dependent right now on endless growth? How do we take that growth dependency out and reorient towards a vision of thriving? We need to become regenerative instead of degenerative. We need to create economies that are distributive rather than the divisive ones we've inherited.
I think most of the economic ideas that are currently being applied in politics are based on a fairy tale world, and it does not really relate to the real world. So I think it's really crucial that we start bringing these ideas where we cannot just focus on fixing market failures, but would have to create a whole new paradigm for how we even talk about the economy, how it relates to society and nature, and thus how we govern.
I believe most people in this room share a dream. This dream is about a socially just society that is able to live in harmony with nature, with economies that are able to provide decent lives for everyone without destroying the ecological support systems on which life itself and prosperity depend. Moving from the present situation will involve enormous transformations. We must write about these things, we must talk about these things. This is what we will do in the next few days, and we will be working hard. But the organizers of this conference, along with Emma Goldman, are of the opinion that if we are not allowed to dance, this is not our revolution.
My name is Ella Marie Hetta Isaksen, and I am an activist and an artist from the north of Sápmi on the Norwegian side of the indigenous territories of the Sami people. As many people here, I do believe that the economic systems are the root of climate problems, and this idea that we can just make more and more money, that resources are unlimited, it's that kind of mindset that brought us into this desperation in the first place.
Everybody here can feel the anger, can feel the frustration of years of exploitation, years of just moving in a direction that's so wrong, and so evidently wrong. I want everybody here to pick up their choice of weapon, to pick up their choice of tool, and start changing the system now.
Degrowth and ecological economics are two fields that examine how to achieve well-being and social justice within planetary boundaries. According to their experts, key policy proposals include moving away from economic growth as a measure of progress, restricting the excessive wealth of a few at the expense of the many, working time reduction, providing universal basic services for all, and acknowledging the diverse values of nature in decision-making.
Well, ecological economics was founded in the late 1980s, and the first big formal conference was in Washington. And since then, I've been probably every 2 years there is a conference. I've been in half of them. These ideas of non-growing economy were already in the first conference.
And Joan, how has it changed over time? What is different now?
Well, there are many more young people coming to these conferences. What is also different is now there is more interest in having a mixture of activism, research activism, no? So the researchers talk to the activists or are activists themselves.
I could think back to when I was first inspired by degrowth. Degrowth represented a few things to me. The first was hope and an answer that I'm not alone. And I'm not alone in questioning the insanity of the colonized and exploitation-based capitalist worldview. The second thing that it offered to me was a set of what I considered magic lenses for calling out fraud, for seeing fraud, inequality, corruption, and the contradiction in traditional or contemporary sustainability movements. The third thing that it offered to me was a set of skills for self-sufficiency, doing, community building, ways to empower myself and then hopefully help others to empower themselves.
I'm going to be, look,
My name is Anna, and now we're at the Blitz House in Oslo, one of the old squats from the 80s that has been occupied. And we're preparing for the world's first degrowth cabaret. Our desire is to express the stories for a world more weaved in relationality through artistic expression. Once we combine our thinking with arts, it turns into something completely different. And it has this force of awakening emotions.
But what are some of the policies that will affect people's everyday lives? One crucial element is the need to redefine work. Can we change the rules defining what type of work deserves compensation and how much? Can we work less and more meaningfully while still achieving safe and decent lives for all?
In my brief contribution to this debate, I would like to make 3 key points. First, that we need to work much less. Secondly, that we need to differentiate the value of work and choose much better where to be active and where to do less or nothing. And third, we need everyone to join the global movement against destructive work and productivism. And here as well, I will suggest that this movement already exists.
The International Nature Panel identifies short-term, market-driven growth as the main cause of environmental degradation. Ecological economics and degrowth challenge us to create a better connection between ecological and economic rhythms through long-term thinking and decision-making.
My name is Martin, and today we're going to do a deep time walk around a beautiful lake just behind me, where we're going to take a walk 4.6 kilometers through the Earth's history. And that will be 4.6 kilometers, 4.6 billion years. So every meter we take is going to be 1 million years that we're going to take around the walk and experience how the Earth formed, how it came to life, and how we might carry it further. Taking these kind of walks is kind of hands-on. It's embodied. It's something that we can feel. It's not just a story we tell, but it's also something we touch, we see, we interact with the environment.
One of the struggles that we have permanently is how to convince the technocrats that have forever been pressuring for extractivism from one day to another to start thinking about degrowth or about sustainability or about just energy transitions. We also have challenges in relation to the national elites because those elites have been in power forever and they have been fueled by extractivist model and the extractivist money as well.
Another important element of ecological economics and degrowth is the necessity to decolonize our imaginaries and institutions. This includes challenging the prevalence of a Eurocentric view of the world. De-linking, as conceived by Samir Amin, is the decision by countries from the global majority to reduce their dependence on the global capitalist system and prioritize local needs rather than external market demands.
So I'm going to start with where I think we should go. A basic just world system, which is definitely not capitalist, is a world with guaranteed social rights, more or less sustainable production patterns, worldwide same levels of development, equal access to energy on a global scale, and equal global labor distribution. That means that people don't have to work really hard in the Philippines and chill in New York or Norway or whatever. Everyone has to work hard or not that hard, depending on the level of the productive forces. I don't see any other just world system.
I'm traveling from Brussels, Belgium, to meet like-minded people, to make connection, and to work together to make this world a better place for everyone.
So I'm here because for me this is the highlight of the year. It's the kind of family reunion. There was no question in not coming after already participating in Zagreb and Pontevedra. So third International Degrowth Conference, still going, and you should too.
I traveled from Oslo, which is about 30 kilometers from here. Well, I am employed at the university in Oslo as a professor in environment and development studies. So it's part of my growing up to be an ecological economist.
I traveled from Germany. I'm still not connected with the movement, but I'm trying to get there.
The day before the conference, around 100 people gathered for the International Degrowth Movement Assembly.
We touched upon different aspects of the degrowth movement, such as art and degrowth, policy and degrowth, as well as the global majority's role in degrowth and what is expected out of the global north when it comes to delinking and degrowth. We had a lot of different sessions that spanned policy, society, art, and the idea is that it doesn't matter what part of society you're coming from, you have a stake in this socio-academic movement. I think the main takeaways were that degrowth needs to be building political strategy and that degrowth needs to be interacting with all levels of society and not just some parts, such as, academia.
Ecological economics and degrowth champions not only sufficiency, but also a deeper relationship between humans and nature.
So what we're seeing now is a simulation of the point of our walk where life first started to interact with the atmosphere and the elements around. So from this exercise, we are experiencing how it is to be part of a self-regulating system, how it is to pay attention to what's around us, to other people in this case, and to move together with them, and how life kind of continues to move, sometimes chaotically, but often very controlled and very regulated, slowly moving together. So the walk took us around the whole lake. So after walking 4.6 kilometers, we reached the age of humans, which is just a fingertip compared to the whole journey. So it's important to remember that we're part of something much bigger and a much longer history, and we actually are embodied ancestral memory from this long journey through deep time.
What do you think of the conference so far?
It's big, it's huge, so it's impossible to keep track of everything that's going on. It's extremely young, so the fact that it's so young is really energizing. I think it also gives us more challenges, and there's lots of challenging questions that have come up in the conference in terms of taking this seriously as a life and death issue, taking this seriously as an issue where global justice, historical justice really has to play a big role, and that our research should matter and our actions should matter. So those things I think remain unresolved. Those tensions remain unresolved, but I'm really glad that they were raised.
I'll ask a simple question. Whose time are we reducing? Across the world, many people are running on empty, working hour after hour just to survive, while others have time to rest, to reflect, to create. Time justice talks about who controls time, whose time is valued, and who is denied the time to live fully.
One of the big challenges at the moment is that decarbonization cannot become the new green extractivism. I don't think that we can ask the Global South to degrow, because we have too many gaps, social needs. But what we can tell the Global South is to grow only in what is sustainable. Whereas in the Global North, the challenge is completely different. The challenge is to stop extracting from the South and transferring all the value to the North.
The growth puts a lot of emphasis on setting limits, but in Latin America, we, in social movement, put a lot of emphasis on rights, for example, to the territory. So it's a very powerful concept that is able to mobilize people from rural areas. But of course, the point I made also that is full of trade-off. At the same time, we acknowledge that we cannot all have the type of consumption that people from high-income countries have, and the conflicts that will generate worldwide is unaffordable.
We're at Sognsvann, and we've had a nature hub, which has been a very simple gathering around the bonfire. And it's been a long day with a lot of impressions, a lot of learnings, a lot of reflections. So this was a space to land and integrate and reflect a bit deeper on everything that happened. We are coming from different places. We all have different perspectives around this new world we're trying to create. And having those spaces to meet and connect deeply, I think it's crucial for the shift that we want to have, and reaching also the social tipping point. Feeling that we're not alone, that we're actually in this together and we have each other, but also just relaxing and having fun.
What's your feeling of the conference and of the people participating?
Yeah, I really like how vibrant it has been. And I think, if anything, what I take from it is the energy of people and this feeling, this emotion of being together, trying to change the world.
I'm really, really excited about being here. I think it's an amazing conference. I think it's been organized brilliantly. I think there are way too many sessions because I want to go to all of them and I can't.
So I think that the focus on what we should be doing, that it should be much more serious about life and death issues, that it should be much more serious about the fact that we're losing and losing very badly to very negative forces, the fact that that we have to take this research seriously in an urgent way. I think that that's been raised very strongly here.
I think it's crucial that we have these conferences and have these debates, both among different scholars with different perspectives and from different schools of thought, but also that we consider strategies for bringing that into the real world and having an actual impact in policies.